Five-card stud is the earliest form of the card game stud poker, originating during the American Civil War, but is less commonly played today than many other more popular poker games. It is still a popular game in parts of the world, especially in Finland, where a specific variant of five-card stud called Sökö, also known as Canadian stud or Scandinavian stud, is played. The word Sökö is also used for checking in Finland. I check equals minä sökötän. The description below assumes that one is familiar with the general gameplay of poker, and with hand values, both high and low variations. The description also makes no assumptions about what betting structure is used. Five-card stud is sometimes played no limit and pot limit, though fixed limit and spread limit games are common, with higher limits in the later betting rounds. It is typical to use a small ante and a bring-in. Description of play. Play begins with each player being dealt one card face down, followed by one card face up, beginning, as usual, with the player to the dealer's left. If played with a bring-in, the player with the lowest ranking up card must pay the bring-in, and betting proceeds after that. If two players have equally ranked low cards, suit rankings may be used to break the tie. If there is no bring-in, then the first betting round begins with the player showing the highest ranking up card, who may check. In this case, suit should not be used to break ties. If two players have the same high up card, the one first in clockwise rotation from the dealer acts first. After the first betting round is complete, another face-up card is dealt to each player. After a burn card, starting with the player to the dealer's left. As with all subsequent rounds, betting now begins with the player whose up cards make the best poker hand. Since fewer than 5 cards are face-up, this means no straights, flushes, or full houses. On this and subsequent betting rounds, the player to act first may check a bet up to the game's limit. The second betting round is followed by a third up card to each player and a third betting round, again starting with the player with the best poker hand showing. Thus, the first player to act on each round may change. A fourth face-up card in fourth betting round is followed by a showdown, if necessary. It usually won't be. Most deals of 5-card stud end early when a player bets and gets no calls. Example: assume that a game is being played by 4 players. Alice, who is dealing, Bob, who is sitting to her left, Carol to his left, David to Carol's left. Alice deals 1 card face down to each player, followed by 1 card face up to each player, beginning with Bob and ending with herself. Bob is dealt the 4 spade suit, Carol the Q diamond suit, David the 4 diamond suit, and Alice the 9 club suit, because they had earlier agreed to play with a $1 bring-in. David is required to start the betting with a $1 bring-in. His 4 diamond suit is lower than Bob's 4 spade suit by suit. He has the option to open the betting for more, but he chooses to bet only the required $1. The bring-in sets the current bet amount to $1, so Alice cannot check. She decides to call. Bob folds, indicating this by turning his up card face down and discarding his cards. Carol raises to $3. David folds, forfeiting his bring-in, and Alice calls. Equals third street equals. Alice now deals a second face-up card to each remaining player. Carol is dealt the J club suit, and Alice the Q heart. Alice's 2 face-up cards make a poker hand of no pair, Q9 high, and Carol has QJ high. So it is Carol's turn to bet. She checks, as does Alice, ending the betting round. Equals 4th street equals. Another face-up card is dealt. Carol gets the 3 heart, and Alice gets the Q club suit. Alice now has a pair of queens showing, and Carol still has no pair. So Alice bets first. She bets $5. And Carol calls. Equals Fifth Street equals. The final card is dealt face up. Carol gets the A diamond suit and Alice gets the 4 heart. Carol still only has no pair showing, thus resulting in Alice with her pair of queens showing. Set to start the betting. Alice bets $5 and is raised to $10 by Carol. Alice calls and the two must now enter into a showdown, where both players compare their best 5-card poker hand. Since Carol was the last player to take aggressive action, she shows first, flipping over her whole card, the A-club suit, thus giving her a pair of aces. Since she is the last to act, Alice is allowed to muck her cards and does so. Therefore, the pot of $37 goes to Carol. Popularity. Since its popularity during the American Civil War, 5-card stud has seen a gradual decline in its popularity. Despite this drop in status, it is still enjoyed by many players. Major tournaments. 5-card stud was one of the preliminary events in the World Series of Poker in 1971, 1972, 1973 and 1974. All 4 of these events were won by Bill Boyd. He won a total of $80,000 from these 4 events. The only WSOP bracelets he won. Due to the declining popularity of 5-card stud, it was left out of the 1975 World Series of Poker and has been absent from all subsequent World Series of Poker schedules. Although 5-card stud has not been featured in major tournaments since the 70s, it was occasionally still offered in the 1990s in both Europe and North America. Cash games. 5-card stud was limited to small home games and small casino games until becoming available at some online poker card rooms. Variants. Traditional 5-card stud involves one whole card with 4 cards face up, making it simple for even a novice to read the possible hand strength of an opponent effectively. The transparency of a player's hand cuts out much of the element of uncertainty found in more popular games like Texas Hold'em, Omaha Hold'em and 7-card stud. In order to enlarge that element of uncertainty, variants increase the number of hole cards. Add a high-low split. Play with a strip deck. Introduce a twist round. Enable the player to do a roll your own game or even create new and interesting hand rankings. High-low. The game can be played with low hand values, in which case the best low hand showing starts each betting round instead of the best high hand showing. Also, the highest ranking card must pay the bring-in if it is played with a bring-in. At the end of all betting rounds, the total pot is split into 2, one for low-ranking hands, the other for high-ranking hands, and the hands are evaluated based on both low-ranking criteria for the low pot and high-ranking criteria for the high pot. When playing high-low, it is common to use the ace to 5 low hand ranking to evaluate the low hands and use the standard hand ranking when evaluating high hands. In the United Kingdom, however, the use of ace to 6 low hand ranking is common when evaluating low hands. Canadian stud, Scandinavian stud, Sökö. This variant of 5-card stud is almost identical to the traditional format, the only difference being the introduction of 2 new hands into the hand ranking. Due to the sparse nature of flushes and straights in 5-card stud, this variant counts 4-card straights and 4-card flushes as poker hands. A 4-card flush is ranked higher than a pair. A 4-card straight is ranked higher than a 4-card flush. Note the inverse rank compared to 5-card flushes and straights. And a 2-pair is ranked higher than a 4-card straight. 2 down, 3 up, 2 to 3. Instead of dealing the players 1 whole card and 1 up card. In this variant the players are dealt 2 whole cards. All subsequent cards are dealt face-up, resulting in the fairly self-explanatory name. 3 down, 2 up, 3 to 2. Instead of dealing the players one whole card and one up card. In this variant, players are dealt 3 cards face down. The next 2 cards are dealt face up. As a result of the high number of cards dealt initially, this variant only has 3 rounds of betting and is thus best played with no limit or pot limit. Betting structure. The name is again fairly self-explanatory. 1 down, 3 up, 1 down, 1, 3, 1. This variant differs from traditional 5-card stud only in the way the final card is dealt, rather than being face-up. In this variant, the river is dealt face down. As a whole card, the name, yet again, derives from how a hand looks after all betting rounds are done. This is also a common variant in Finland, where the action of players looking to their whole river card secretly from the others is called pihistäminen, ENGL, petty theft. Mexican stud, stud loco, Mexican poker. Mexican stud is a roll-your-own game where the player receives 5 face-down cards and has to reveal 4 of them. The player is dealt 2 cards, as in traditional 5-card stud, and that he/she must expose one of them. The player then receives a 3rd card, and must immediately expose another card in his/her hand. The player exposes another one after receiving a 4th card, and again after a 5th card. Sometimes a stripped deck is used. Mexican stud is also a variant of 7-card stud, employing the same roll-your-own rules. 1. Equals shifting sands equals. This game's only difference in relation to Mexican stud is that the player's whole card, and all cards of that rank, are considered wild cards for that player only. Teresina, Teresina, with origins in San Remo, is often described as a variant of 5-card stud. The initial 4 rounds are identical to 5-card stud, the players receiving 2 cards, 1 face down, and then 3 more face-up cards interspersed with betting rounds. However, a final round is added where all the players are dealt a single community card. The other main difference is the use of a strip deck, with all cards of rank 2 to 6 inclusive, taken out of the deck. As a result, this variant is often played short-handed, usually with 6 players per table. As with most strip deck games, in Teresina flushes are ranked above full houses. In addition, unlike in traditional poker, suits are used to break ties. If players have an identical straight flush or straight, the high suit wins. If both players have the same pair or 2 pair, the suit of the highest kicker determines the winner. The order of suits, strongest to weakest, is hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades. Another unique rule states if 2 players have a flush, the highest ranking card is not used to determine a winner. Instead, the Teresina suit order is used to resolve the situation. The final Teresina specific rule states if there are only 2 players left in the pot, the highest straight flush, A, K, Q, J, T in hearts, is beaten by the lowest straight flush, T, 9, 8, 7, A in spades. Note that these rules are as the game has been played on several online poker sites, but Teresina may generically refer to any strip deck 5-card stud variation. Asian 5-card stud, Americana. Regular 5-card stud played with a strip deck, with all cards of rank 2 to 6 inclusive, removed from the deck. This variant has been played in a tournament format in California, called Americana. The game has been available on online poker sites. As with other stripped deck games, a flush is ranked higher than a full house. This is different from the game Asian stud, which is played against the house. See also, stud poker. Notes.